I'm Terry Schaefer, and as noted just now, Nancy has triggered for the meeting to be recorded today. I serve as the vice chair for the Talent COI, and on behalf of our leadership team, we have some folks here from the team. Want to welcome everyone today and thank you for participating. We're going to be featuring a great project that the recent associates team class, they just finished up their program. They focused in on a talent related topic, and they put together some fantastic research that they're going to share with us today. So we're really excited to hear from them. And then just a couple COI related updates. We actually have a project that is underway, and it's also on this topic, and it's basically researching, the how agencies can retain Gen Z workers and what those effective strategies are. So they're putting together some research and for tools for agencies to help them understand what motivates and keeps people in the federal government who have come in and are within that Gen Z group. And I know this topic, there was some syncing up between that project team and this group. So we've got some really interesting things ahead as well. And then Nancy, I think you wanted to go ahead and share the Cyber COI's upcoming event.
Yes, I do. So the Cyber COI has this unique opportunity, right? They partner with the Carnegie Mellon University to do a virtual job fair. And this is the first time we've done this. So hopefully it's a success and we can replicate it in other areas. But this one is specifically targeted to cyber workforce. And this is a virtual, like I said, a virtual job fair on February 3rd. And to those who were in college recently, you may be familiar with Handshake. And so that is a platform that they're using. I know a lot of colleges use Handshake. And we are inviting companies who are interested in recruiting cyber talent from, on either undergrad level or master's level talent, information systems, policy, analytics, cyber, emerging technology, AI, or machine learning, and more. And you can register on Handshake. I can send you the link for more information. I'll post it on the chat. And if you have specific questions of how your organization or your company would like to be involved, you can let me know and I can connect you with the folks that are organizing this event. So that is it. Back to you, Terry.
All right, thank you. I think that covers the updates we have for the members here, and now I can hand it over to the team for them to introduce themselves and take over here. So off to you guys.
You're on mute, Olivia.
Great way to start. Sorry, guys. I just want to say good morning. Thank you guys all for joining us today. We're very excited. I'd like to start by introducing our project team. I'll have each of us say our names and we can just do a tag team from there. I'll start with myself. My name is Olivia Henry. I'm the Director of Business Operations for ACT-IAC Technology, which is a tribally owned small business. And I will pass it off to Noah to introduce himself.
Hi, everyone. My name is Noah Sussman. I'm an account executive on our federal civilian team at OPEXIS. We are a built-for-government case management solution, helping government manage their workforce management processes such as reasonable accommodations, employee relations, labor relations, and EEO complaints. It's good to meet everybody and looking forward to presenting our project today. Turn it over to Tony.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Tony Nguyen. I work for Lock Harbor Group Incorporated. We are a small business that works in logistical services. I'm one of their business development specialists. I'll turn it over to Gabby.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Gabby Rodas, and I am the Internal Operations Specialist at Audley Consulting Group, small 8A company, and we handle everything IT consulting. And passing it on to Natalie.
Thank you. And hi, everyone. My name is Natalie. I am a business analyst at CGI Federal, and I'm working on the Veteran Affairs FMBT program here. Thank you.
So together, we are missing our coach, Jessica. Jessica Days, she's with the IRS. been following with us the entire cohort time. So together we make up ACT-IAC Associates 2024 entry-level professional development cohort. And we all together make up top tier talent is the name of our team. The Associates program supports ACT-IAC's mission of connecting government and industry with the COIs as the heart of ACT-IAC's collaboration, right? So our program goal as associates this year was to establish a team case study where we with our COI, in this case we are with talent, to research, explore, support, and address current relevant topics, overall providing value to the COI's overall mission. In our early collaboration with the Talent COI leadership team, we dove deep into their efforts and their priorities and what the current initiatives they're working on. We were really excited to hear that they carried out last year's Associates 23 cohort case study project that was focusing on, as mentioned earlier, the Gen Z. Leadership gracefully listened to all of our ideas. We were a brand new team at the time. We had just really met, and we decided to continue our research efforts into that Gen Z track. This time around with our team focusing on the recruitment of Gen Z into government. So with that being said, I will kick us off to present our project, Gateway to Government Agencies. Tony, you got our slide up. Thank you very much. And if I can have you go to the next slide, please. I'm going to kick us off by highlighting the key achievements of our project. So through Gateway to Government Agencies, our team was able to understand total compensation rewards, where we gained a comprehensive understanding of the total compensation rewards overall, including what makes up a total compensation reward package. We identified Gen Z motivators and what they care about in the workforce and how that relates to their job choices overall. We analyzed total compensation rewards in government. So we essentially captured what their major government agencies are currently offering, noting similarities and differences. And then we are enhancing transparency actually through the design and development of our total compensation rewards tool that has quite a bit of capability. We have full-time jobs, we're not coders. We created this as a project, and it could be carried on even by like OPM at the OPM level. So there's a lot of possibility there. And then because we're a team of overachievers, we threw in a white paper as well that will have actionable insights. We'll talk about that a little bit today. And if you want to go to next slide, Tony, please. How did we get here? Who are we looking at? I kind of had mentioned before, and collaborating with the Talent COI's current initiatives. The Associates 23 group has a current project in place that's focusing on retaining Gen Z in the workforce. They're creating a workplace toolkit that focuses on Gen Z community in the workplace. And our project will actually assist the COI in encompassing the entire experience of recruitment to retainment now of Gen Z in the workforce. It's notable that 83% of major federal agencies are experiencing staffing shortages, and our white paper goes a little bit more in depth into those challenges that agencies are facing in recruiting with Gen Z. But I'm going to highlight just a couple stats really quick. So let's talk facts. Gen Z, 1997 to early 2010s, they represent 1.6% of the federal workforce, and they're estimated to make up to 30% of the U.S. workforce by 2030. So it's crucial that we consider the overall context of the broader demographic landscape, where 45% of the federal workforce is already 50 years of age or older, and 15% is already eligible to retire. So that stark contrast speaks for itself in the need to not only leverage the potential contributions that Gen Z can have on increased government jobs, but also to prioritize their recruitment to ensure that we have a sustainable and dynamic workforce. Next slide, please, Tony. All right, key goals we wanted to highlight and categorize total compensation rewards in our major government agencies. There is no centralized area. If you want to find out what agency is offering, you have to go to that specific agency and find out what they're advertising. We wanted to identify with that data ideal candidates for the agencies, focusing on Gen Z's motivators and their preferences while entering the workforce. Honing in on deliverables. The government offers a survey. It's called Find the Right Government Agency for You. It was developed for their Go Government initiative, and it helps users identify potential government agencies based on their career interest. It's like 4 or 5 questions, I want to say. They ask where you're located, what's your career background, and then some other like random questions like what agency size would you prefer to work for? So it's very limited in what it collects. The tool's very limited, and it definitely does not dive deep into how an agency's total reward offerings can align to a candidate's personal values. So our tool is going to address this gap by centralizing advertised total rewards data, like mentioned. So we're not essentially like reinventing the wheel here. We're more so taking what agencies are already offering, we're making that data more accessible, and then we're applying it to the recruitment of Gen Z, which ultimately in turn creates a more personalized approach for candidates and for getting Gen Z and new talent into government. Next slide, Tony, thank you. So the scope of our project is going to focus on the underline of total compensation rewards, and that's benefits and other perks. So the definition of total compensation reward includes all forms of financial returns, so tangible services, including the benefits that they receive as part of their salary, so salary, health, retirement. But because agencies are legally required to offer health, 401k, dental, vision, we're calling those standard, and we're zoning in on benefits and other perks, because that's what varies differently across agencies. So how it looks in government right now, Office of Personnel Management sets the overall framework and the guidelines for federal employee benefits, ensuring consistency and compliance across agencies. And then it's up to agencies to assess their specific needs and their budget constraints to tailor their own benefit packages that align with their strategic goals and their financial capabilities. Hopefully they're doing like a competitive analysis in there. Sorry, Tony, if you can go back. Hopefully they're doing some type of competitive analysis, ensuring that their benefit packages are attractive compared to other employers, other agencies, both within and outside the federal government, hopefully, and then obviously collecting employee feedback from current employees to understand which benefits are most valued, to identify area for improvement, ensuring that their benefits are meeting their workforce's needs. So again, aside from the above, it's really up to agencies to implement their own total compensation reward offerings. So things like the telework, flexible work schedules, wellness programs to attract and retain their talent. And with that being said, I'm going to kick it off to Gabby, who is going to focus on our interviews.
Thank you, Olivia, for that introduction and for setting the tone for this project. So for this project, we aim to include all available data, and thank you to the COI for their help because we were able to connect with federal government contacts in order to gain some insight on how total compensation is communicated. So touching on the interviews here, the first interview, also disclaimer for all of these, for the sake of anonymity, we're going to be referring to all the agencies as major agencies. So for major agency number 1 in interview number 1, it was facilitated with a Gen X federal employee with 35 years of experience. All the key takeaways include they do have an outside contract who does the research on benefits and compensation offerings, but they also use additional funds to provide and allocate their own profits to offer supplemental benefits. They also talk to career centers and students in order to obtain feedback. They have childcare assistance, college recruitment events, and they also offer their benefits through OPM plus agency-specific programs. For major agency number 2, we facilitated an interview with 2 Gen X federal employees with 25 years of individual experience for both of them. Although they weren't able to provide any insight on how the recruitment process goes, they do offer flexible work arrangements, training and leadership development programs, wellness offerings, and paid parking for carpoolers. For major agency number 3, with a millennial of 15 years of experience, they have their agency does their own employee engagement. So while providing different trainings and vast opportunities in development through an internal platform to obtain certificates, additional training, and also they offer paid family leave and a target center that's the centralized location for those with disabilities looking for assistance. For major agency number 4, with a Gen Z of less than 10 years of experience, there is a need to improve communication of non-monetary benefits during the recruitment process. However, they do offer detailed assignments to foster diverse experiences, increase the job opportunity exposure, and also career development opportunities. They also offer onboarding and include like different onboarding experience, so coffee chats, internal platform chats, to help employees feel welcomed and informed about the benefits. They offer Ask Me sessions to help answer any questions that they may have prior. They also offer government-wide resources. They have established a telework and remote-friendly culture in there as well, and retention strategies to help solve problems in real time. Overall, as a reflection and motivators, with these interviews, they gave us insight on how career growth and goals are the motivators for baby boomers, Gen X, and early Gen Y groups. For early career candidates, they search for security and stability, and then later on shift to salary and benefits. Overall, today, all generation groups, they are motivated by a combination of flexible work schedules, comprehensive health and wellness programs, and career development programs. And I'm going to go ahead and, pass it off to Tony.
Yes. Hello, everyone. So I will be talking about the Gateway to Government tool and just sort of how the process of the tool began. So we looked at key reward motivators that agencies offered. For some examples, for recent graduate programs, telework, offering hybrid or fully remote, transportation subsidy, which includes reimbursements for metros or bike shares or parking, wellness and fitness, which offered discounts for gym memberships or offered in-office gyms, things like that. Childcare, which also includes like nursing stations or in-office daycares. Job rotations, for example, if you work at a position for 2 years, and then you can rotate to a different job for 6 months to see if you're interested in working in that role or taking a break from your current position. There's flexible work environments such as alternative work schedules, so not the usual 9 to 5. There's student loan, tuition assistance, and training and certifications opportunities such as ACT-IAC, which my work pays for. So things like that as key reward motivators. So building the prototype, we built a data set of 16 government agencies, and through each one, we found what type of similar or matching degrees that the agencies were interested in hiring in. We looked at those 16 agencies that offered different benefits that I just previously mentioned, and then we gathered their career and benefits websites from each agency. Following that, we use Google's app scripts and Google Forms to create a survey tool called the Gateway to Government. And after the person fills out the questions, the results would be emailed to that person, and we would show the top 3 agency recommendations, which motivators, the top 3 motivators that they selected, and the career and benefits link to that agency so that they could explore and look into it with some more detail. Now I'll turn it over to Natalie to demonstrate and talk about our actual tool simulation.
Yeah, hi everyone. So this is our Gateway to Government prototype tool. So like Tony just mentioned, this tool is designed to help the end user better understand their top benefit motivators. So the user will start the survey off by entering their name, the email they want the results to go to, their highest level of education, and then any degrees they have earned. From there, they'll rate the following questions on a scale of 1 being the lowest and then 5 being the highest. So the first question they'll answer is, how important are post-college fellowship opportunities to you? Second is, how important is having your company help repay your student loans or offer tuition assistance? Third is, how important are company-paid professional development programs or certifications to you? Fourth is, how important are company career rotational programs? Fifth is, how important is it for you to be hybrid? Sixth is, how important is it to have a flexible work schedule or hours to you? The 7th is how important is it to have company paid transportation reimbursements or like stipend contributions to you. The 8th is how important is company funded or discounts for health and wellness, like Tony mentioned, and fitness opportunities to you. And then the last question is how important is company funded or a stipend for childcare to you. So now once all these questions are answered, the user will go ahead and they'll click submit on the form, as you're seeing right here. And then the user will receive their top 3 government agency matches to the email they listed on the form. And then this is based on the responses to all the questions below or from before. And then these match results will also include links to the career and benefit pages, like Tony just mentioned, for the top 3 government agencies.
All right, thanks, Natalie. So to bring us home, wanted to talk about our project findings from both our interviews and the pilot program that we ran for our prototype. So a few key takeaways that we gathered. Number one that I wanted to highlight is that was very pertinent through the interview stage was that non-Gen Z agency employees were not fully aware of everything that is offered to them as a part of their total compensation rewards. And therefore, that's reflecting on the interview stage for this Gen Z talent and prospects that the total compensation rewards of that agency is not being properly communicated. So we think that definitely has something to do with the lack of Gen Z talent across the government, and something that we definitely want to see improve over the next couple of years. Next, motivators that are very important to Gen Z today, we don't believe are going to be the same level of motivation to them in the next 5 to 10 years. For example, professional development was rated the highest for the Gen Z pilot group, and then the lowest was childcare, most likely due to where they are, what stage of life they're in, which we expect to change over the next 5 to 10 years as Gen Z starts to age and begin families. We feel like childcare will start becoming one of the more highly rated motivators for them, whereas professional development over the next 10 or so years, when a lot of their professional careers have really taken off, will not be as important to them. And then also wanted to just highlight a couple things that we learned about ourselves during this process from our team. At first, it was difficult to balance our own work schedules with the timing and requirements of this project. We really kicked off our project deliverables during August, September, which, as I'm sure all of you know, is a very busy time for the federal contracting cycle. So it was a challenge at first, but we defined our roles very strongly, and it really helped us stay on track and get to the point where we are today. Next, it was difficult at first to find HR professionals who recruit Gen Z talent, but through our relationship and thanks to the Talent COI, Nancy and Terry, it was a really great opportunity for us to connect through recommendations that they had to identify those willing interviewees and got us some of the data that was super helpful in our project. And finally, using emerging technology. I know it is a major buzzword, and I'm sure you've all heard it multiple times over the last couple of weeks, but we decided to drink the AI Kool-Aid as well and help and use ChatGPT to help us code our prototype. None of us came from a true coding background, so having the support of ChatGPT and being resourceful and using it to help us connect our survey with the deliverable that it sends out to the person who fills out the survey based on how the motivators match with the agency's benefits really helped us and came in handy. So that concludes our presentation. We wanted to open the floor for questions from the group. We could start by, if anybody has specific questions right now, feel free to jump in, but we also have a couple different categories that I wanted to make sure that the group could have a discussion about. So I know, Javier, it looks like you have your hand raised if you wanted to kick us off, and then if we will then move into the different categories of questions that we wanted the team to brainstorm.
Yeah, thanks, Noah. It's more of a comment. I know we've been talking with you folks throughout this process, but I wanted to reiterate publicly how impressed I am with regard to the effort that was put into this project, your determination. Olivia mentioned, overachievers. It is really impressive and heartwarming, to be quite frank, as a career Fed, to see how important you believe the federal workspace is and the efforts that you put into trying to help that process along. To include using technology, right? You said you weren't coders, but you did what you needed to do to get it done. And I just want to thank you personally, and as in my role as the government chair of the Talent COI, just to say thank you, and I really appreciate the effort that you put into it.
Absolutely. Appreciate it, Javier. All right. If there are no questions, I don't think anybody has. Oh, Aisha.
Hello. Great job, guys. I'm new to the group. I was wondering, with this prototype, did you all talk about or explore that once you got the feedback from Gen Z folks, is there any way to relay that information back to the agency? So if you're seeing GSA as one of the top agencies that are matching with candidates, is there any way to get that information back to those agencies so that they can say, wow, we really need to focus in on our Gen Z talent pool?
I think I can take that question. So just to reiterate your question, you were just asking if after the survey, we could relay that information to the government so that they could just take a look and gather data on it to potentially just change or take notice of what Gen Z talent is looking at to better change or better experience their government benefits?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I guess to answer that question, I think if we were to dive into this research and experiment a little bit more, I think that would definitely be a possibility, and I think that would be a great idea. I think our team originally was interested in, I guess, we had it split into two options of either focusing on the people and the Gen Z that wanted to apply for it, or take a look at it, or experience it from the government side of, I guess, what could we change to better the Gen Z for the Gen Z. But I think after different trials and kind of different phases of our team, we switched to kind of like the Gen Z talent, the Gen Z people side. But I think later on, if this project were to continue going, I think that would definitely be a very important phase to include.
Also, just to kind of add on to that, I believe Olivia touched on this earlier, but this is part of our white paper too, but from previous discussions with the Talent COI leadership and kind of talking through this prototype tool and what we really wanted to accomplish with this, we kind of found out that there's already a tool. It's the Find Your Fit, where end users can go in and kind of see like what agencies they'd be interested and best aligned with based on like where they want their career to go. And so we were thinking this could be like an additional component to that. And so something that the Talent COI could then take on as part of the Gen Z project, but also something that maybe they can extend further. And so with that addition, we're hoping, and like this could be possibly something in the back end too, where when users are sent their top 3 government agency matches, we also receive a copy of that from like the tool itself. And so all that data can be gathered and then accessed at the same time.
There was one question in the chat from Teresa. So she asked if we mention interviewing major agencies, will the results that are sent to the users only include the major agencies or all agencies? Does anyone want to take that, or do you want me to answer?
Yeah, I can. Oh, sorry.
All right.
Gabby.
Yeah, I can go ahead and take that. So yeah, when we interviewed the agencies, that's just for to not, to keep it anonymous, that's why we refer to them as major agencies, but the results will be sent to the users, like giving all the agencies as an option, whatever the results come back as. So it's not per se like it's just going to be limited to like 10 major agencies. It's going to send the results to all agencies within the government.
And kind of expanding upon that one too, our 4 interviews that were conducted were for us to better understand what the government is currently doing for recruitment. And then our prototype tool is a little bit different, where we kind of took that basic understanding. And then, like Tony had mentioned, we compiled a list of the 16 major agencies and the data that was available to us online, and then kind of what we had gathered through these interviews. And then that's the back end that kind of runs from the prototype tool. And so all the data that's input is in data that we had found online.
And
Just from those 16 agencies then? It's not like searching usajobs.gov or anything. It's just those.
Yeah, it's just the 16 agencies that we were able to pull data from.
Okay.
But we're
Yes.
hoping this was just for us to basically be able to do it with a short period of time, because that would take pretty extensive period of time to access all that data and gather it. But for our basic like start and the prototype for this, that's where we started. But it can definitely be expanded into hopefully something that can leverage data from all the different agencies.
So, and to expand on the tool a little bit more, when we were, since we only did have several months to work on this and pilot and test it, we did originally have 16 major agencies as our pool, but then also we found, well, each agency had many different departments, and then they all offer different benefits, and then they all offer like different things. So I think because for the sake of time and for the code to not get overloaded with so much data, we just kind of expanded it to the broader sense of the 16 government agencies, and then just a link to those major agencies. That way, it would just be a little bit to fit within our time restraint. But in the future, if this again were to continue, the survey tool would be expanded to hopefully just include more agencies, and hopefully in the future after that to include each department as well, if they want to get into the more specifics.
Excellent. I feel like if it goes well, then you'd ask them and they send you all the data and you don't have to go do all that research because they want to be part of it. So.
Yeah.
All right. Any other questions for the group? It doesn't look like there's any in chat. And if there aren't, I kind of wanted to just pose a question back to the group. Based on what we've discussed today and highlighting some of the key motivators that were important to Gen Z, such as professional development opportunities and flexible work schedules. In your day-to-days, how do you feel like your teams have been able to communicate that to Gen Z? And what are some innovative recruitment tactics that you can take back to your agencies and just maybe that have sparked as ideas today that you can help your agency attract more Gen Z talent?
I think you have to start picking names, calling out names.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I'll come off mute and just say, I think you made some really great points from your research on it's communicating out, because sometimes people just don't fully understand what is available to them, and having resources and tools and that are available that make it clear where people can go to access that information. I'm in a good situation where I feel like I have access to all of that information. So I think where I sit, I see that happening. But I'm sure a lot of organizations out there aren't necessarily communicating it out well enough. And then people are surprised by it and like, oh, if I only knew that we had that, I didn't realize, So I think that's huge, because you can have a great program, but if people don't know about it or aren't using it, and then even having people who have experienced that particular program who can then share with others, and then you have some personal part of it where people can share their stories. And I know storytelling is really big. So just some thoughts from what you guys learned and what my experience is.
Thank you, Terry. Appreciate it. Aisha?
I'm on the private side, but something that I've seen work really well is using your social media. Not sure how much government agencies, individual ones, are doing that, but using that to highlight some of these benefits with actual maybe case studies of employees, videos. And then also, I think after the initial orientation onboarding, usually after, those first 30 days, you're inundated during those first 30 days of coming into a new job. But I think having a follow-up with, benefits or HR to kind of, again, go over those benefits because they probably just missed it. And do they have any other questions? I think that is really, really valuable to keep that onboarding, extend the onboarding a little bit longer to achieve that.
Awesome. Thanks, Aisha. Dave?
Yeah, just real quick. I'm not I'm on the private side as well. But my son is a millennial and he works for government. I'm also in the workforce development space from a private point of view, so that you'll get some perspective on how I'm responding. You brought up the notion of professional development, and there was also a category in your survey around training and certification. And my observation, just through my own son's experience and the experience I have being in workforce development and helping government agencies, is that benefit tends to be something that's communicated by a line manager, which leads to a lot of subjectivity around how that line manager communicates those benefits versus the agency itself providing more clarity or more consistency as to how professional development happens, what someone should expect, and specifically what kinds of training or certification opportunities exist. So just my personal point of view is there's an opportunity for government as you think about attracting more Gen Z talent, is to actually kind of think through how does that message come out more consistently and more overtly from the top versus just during the interview process.
Yeah, absolutely. Does anybody have just personal experience that they're willing to share of a benefit that they maybe were not aware of going into accepting a job with your agency, if you're on the government side, and how you found out about it afterwards? And maybe what could have been done to maybe have that be communicated more upfront? If we don't, that's okay.
I mean, but just as a background point of view, that we do a lot of certification training, and I hear a lot in the classrooms that I'm exposed to. I hear a lot of people say, "Oh, I asked them, how did you get to this class? How did you determine that you needed this certification?" And it tends to come out that, someone told me to come. I wish I'd known about this earlier. And so my response really has more to do with how do employees broadly, but particularly Gen Z, since that's your project, how do they know how to navigate the organization to seek and find the opportunities that would help to propel their career in the first 10 years that you're talking about?
Absolutely. Jamie, it looks like your hand was up next.
Yeah, thanks. I'm also private sector, but I do think that one thing that's important is, like, maybe if there could be some sort of like intranet or resource that people can go to where there's a landing page, and in particular, I don't know how it works in the government, but if you're, when it comes time to select your benefits each year, that the suite of benefits is available to see. I think that could be a good way of making sure that people know about those resources.
Awesome. Thanks. Javier?
Yeah, to Dave's point, I don't think the federal government enterprise does a really good job of sharing promising practices. I have seen the spectrum of talent development and professional development. I've seen some agencies where you're basically fending for yourself. And that's what occurred to me when I started in the federal government. It was basically, I have to go find what I needed to do to get, to where I wanted to be, to include doing my job, right? It wasn't just about, hey, I wish I could do this so that 5 years from now I could take advantage of it. And then there's other organizations that have a more structured process where they have a learning academy or a learning and development branch that curates some of these trainings. We're trying to do this in my office. We're a small office. We have 85 people or so on board. But our talent team is internally developing or curating a list of training and potentially doing it for a pathway process. So if you want to be, so we have auditors, right? So if you want to be a GS-13 auditor, these are the things that you may want to consider, right? And that takes a while because you need the subject matter experts to take the time to explain to the HR folks how to do it. But I think if there's a better way of sharing those promising practices across the federal enterprise and potentially in a utopian world, a government-wide repository of those things that is not only curated but kept up to date, that would probably be the utopia of professional development. Just my opinion.
Awesome. Thank you, Javier. Looks like there are a couple more chat questions. Wanted to just address Susanna's really quick. Would the user data sent to agencies be anonymous? Yes, that would be our intention, to keep the user data anonymous. And then the other question that I think is a good question to bring up to the rest of the group as well, was the same conversation happening about recruiting millennials, or is Gen Z just so different from past generations? So if anybody who was working in the federal government space or in private sector as well, who has gone through both recruiting the millennial generation and now Gen Z, has anything to chime in on?
No, this is Sarah with ACT-IAC. I have done a lot of research on this as we have changed the associates program vastly. Gen Z is vastly different even than millennials. You guys are a very special bunch. Very excited from my personal level to see you guys grow in the industry, but recruiting for millennials was the tipping point, and you guys are receiving the benefits of what we pushed, and you guys are just driving the force more with that. From the research we've gotten for pivoting associates over the past 2 years into this 3rd year that I have been running it, it's vastly different than for associates. There's more focus on it because of how you guys want to work. You are one of the first generations that had tablets when you were toddlers. So it's very different.
Thank you, Sarah.
I do want to make a comment on the data being anonymous sent to agencies. I think that's something to explore, actually. Obviously, keeping it anonymous, but the other side of, well, if it's not anonymous and say it's on an OPM, the Go Government Initiative website, and somebody, a new candidate who's interested, fills the form out or the survey out, say it goes to OPM and they see the name, maybe a recruiter could reach out to them, right? So I think that's something to be explored, but
maybe like an opt-in option.
Yeah,
if they want to
exactly.
be
So there's a
contacted.
lot of capability there, I feel like, if it's not anonymous, and where would it go, right? We would need to explore that. But if the government owns it and they're the one pushing this out and deploying it, and the results go to them, exploring, what could happen if they did have that information, and could they make that reach out from the recruitment side to that agency? So yeah, I definitely think that's a possibility to explore moving forward with our project.
And I think to add to that a little bit more, I think changes happen when conversations start. And I think sometimes like having that optional input to say, yes, I would love to talk more about the survey or my answers to this. And if that agency does see that, I think that opens the door for more conversations. Because as of right now in this like survey, yes, we put in and we weigh in our result, like what we care about, what we think is more important. But like I mentioned in that key reward motivators, there's so many details into each one, such as like wellness and gym. Well, what does that mean to that person? Do they want an in-office gym? Do they want reimbursements for gyms? Do they want mental health appointments, that are offered to the agency? transportation, does that mean more bike shares in the area? Does that mean like what are those called? Like the scooter bikes, discounts, things like that for commuters. So, having the broader sense of, yes, I care more about student tuition. Well, what about it? Or like, what about that professional development? What are you seeking? So I think having that optional conversations and it's kind of like a yes or no to that question of having it anonymous. I personally, I think conversations help make change.
Yeah, just to piggyback off of that a little bit, I definitely agree. And I think there's some really cool opportunity specifically with the younger generations. Speaking like from Gen Z Fed experience here, we were able in a previous agency that I was with to kind of get together with some younger feds, and it was hugely impactful. It was cross-generational. We had all different generations there, and we had a lot of those kind of myth-busting conversations across the generations to say like, okay, how is it actually to work with us, and how do we work with you, and to kind of help have those conversations, which was great. But it was also really helpful, being such a small percentage of government, it's great to have that community. And so the option to opt in if you want to connect with other people could be really cool, even if it just gave a space or like a platform for people to later come together and know that, okay, well, there are other people similarly aged or with similar experience that are trying to come in and work in public service.
Absolutely. Thank you, Raylan. Any last thoughts or comments, questions? I really appreciate you all being engaged and helping us have a meaningful conversation for the Q&A part of this group discussion part of this presentation. All right. If nothing else, thank you guys again for sitting in on our presentation and hearing what we've been working on for the past couple of months. I'll turn things back over to Terry. You want to take us home for the last 10 minutes of the meeting.
Sounds great. Thank you all. And I'll echo what Javier was sharing. You guys have done a phenomenal job. I mean, yes, definitely a group of overachievers here, but you did a great job and worked together so well as a team with incredible results. So thank you so much. I would like to invite Raylene to come off of mute again and kind of share what one of the things the COI has been doing and will continue to do. So Raylene, do you want to talk about the connections meetings that we've been having?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Terry. So one really fun opportunity that we've had recently, and I've seen some familiar faces and names on this call, which is really exciting. We've been hosting Fostering Connections calls. And so essentially it's a series. We hop into a call, it's an hour long, and we go through a couple of slides at the beginning that talk about like isolation and just socially how we operate as people and how things have changed over the years, especially with the pandemic and then after the fact, and how we're navigating kind of a new and evolving workforce in that sense. And so we talk about the data, and then we hop into breakouts that are very like personal focused. So we hop in and actually talk about things that matter to you, like reading books or talking about your children or your kids or your pets, that sort of thing, so that you can actually connect with people. And then we host those sessions. We're doing them bi-monthly or every other month. And then in between, we get together with just the people who attended. So you come back with the people you met before. You get to say hello. You get to talk about what you've done in the interim, because we send folks home with homework, like connecting with friends that you maybe haven't talked to in a couple of months. And you come back and you tell us like, how's life been since you've connected more with other humans and been more social, even if it was over a phone call and not in person. And so that's something that we've really appreciated the opportunity to share through ACT-IAC, and we'd love to extend the invitation. Those are always posted under the ACT-IAC events. And like I said, they happen every other month. We do the presentation, it remains the same. But then once you attend, we have the opposite every other month, is when you can join the recurring connection sessions, just to meet people across government and industry and come together and either share ideas or just have a space that's available to you to connect with other humans who are interested in fostering those meaningful connections. So we just wanted to extend that invite to you all as well.
All right, thanks, Raylan. I think that's it for today, and thank you all again, and hopefully we'll see everyone at a future program and one of our connections events that will be coming. So take care, everyone.
Thank you all.
Thank you for having us. Appreciate it. Happy holidays to everyone.
Thank you.